turn it up.
Yeah. Well, Jane.
Hello, Shauna or Anita. I'm reading her name here and it just says.
Oh, there she's getting the screen set up. Hi, Rosie. Hi, Margaret. Hello. We can't see you. I'm not sure if you're
Hi, Anita.
Are working or not, but I know some people just prefer to keep their video off, depending on their background and that as well. So somebody says, especially whenever the hairdressers weren't open, there was quite a few people that weren't showing their videos. So you got your internet working then, Jane?
Yeah, we need a new hub.
Was that all? Right, okay.
Yeah, but it was due to electric it went off 3 times here the last week or two.
Aye.
And come back on again. And it damaged our hub.
All right, okay. Ah, yes, Rosie, there, we've got video.
Osmond has just come in and clicked the button.
You see, sometimes it's a case of choice and sometimes it's a case of, yes, don't know where the button is. So, hey, Marguerite.
How are you doing? Hello.
Well, Veronica, there's.
Yeah.
But if you see down there then, Rosie, have you used Zoom before or not that overly much?
I'm not great with it.
Do you see along the bottom of the screen, are you using a laptop?
No, computer.
A computer. Along the bottom of the screen there, you'll see the wee microphone that looks like, so you can mute yourself. So whenever Shauna's talking, and then we can all mute ourselves, and then that way then we can hear her better. There'll be no background noise.
Okay.
The wee video then beside that. Then,
talking.
what's he going to show you? And then you can see then along the bottom as well, then there's participants, and then there's a wee speech bubble that looks like chat. So if you want to type a message in to ask a question or whatever, you can actually use that wee button there instead of actually, you know, say whenever Shauna's talking, sometimes it might be hard to see somebody's hand put up or whatever. So that could be another wee way of actually getting your messages there.
Okay.
So,
hello everybody, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me just see actually if I can hear you.
Andrew.
Give me a second.
I can't see you.
Oh, there's Margaret.
I'm typing a message here.
Yes, very good, Margaret. Yes, so if there was any wee questions that you ever wanted to ask or feedback or whatever, you can actually use that then instead of actually chatting. So you can see there where the wee chat bubble is, you can see there's a 1 beside that. So that's to let you know then that somebody actually has typed a wee message.
My speakers are muted here, so.
Okay. And then over beside that then there should be a reactions as well, so you can actually put up your hand or do a wee clap signature, wee clap as well. So if there's a good wee point been made.
Sorry, looks like clapping hands.
So it's clapping hands or thumbs
Can
up.
You speak, Anita? Can you hear me? I can't hear you still.
Clap.
Yes.
What do we clap? There we are.
Very good.
There we go. There we go.
There. Can you hear us now, Shauna? Yeah.
I can hear you all now.
That's brilliant.
That's good. And you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
all good.
Hi, Janet.
Hello.
There's Eilish. Oh, we'll wait till Eilish is signing up now.
How many have we on? Let me see how many we've on. At the minute.
13.
Very
13
good.
at the minute, and
brilliant.
There's actually I think a few more still to come on.
Brilliant. So we'll just give it a wee minute then. Let everybody come on, and then we'll get started. I always I don't know about you, but whenever we're doing things like this, I always you feel so nervous because you just want the technology to work.
That's the problem.
Isn't it? You're like, it's got such a mind of its own sometimes, and you're nearly doing the same thing, and all of a sudden something else happens, you know. So at least we're on. That's always a good sign, isn't it?
I can't get out of week 1. The page, you know, how to love the body or
no, but Shauna's sharing the screen, so that's Shauna's presentation. Can you see anybody else on the screen, Jane?
No, nobody, only you.
Oh, right, that's because I'm speaking. So see up at the top part of your screen, over to the right-hand side, you'll see a wee button, exit full screen, and another wee button beside that, possibly speaker view or gallery view. Can you see that? It's at the top right-hand side of your screen.
No, I have only leave or a red dot.
I'm the same. I can't see anybody except the person speaking.
You're on speaker view then, Eilish.
Pardon?
You're
Well,
on
I'm the
speaker
same.
view.
I'm on my tablet, but that's the way that it is. I mean, I do other Zoom things, and it's the same with the other Zoom things as well. I can only see the speaker.
See on your tablet, see if you swipe it across, you might be able to see 4 people.
Swipe it across. Right. No, that's not working.
Swipe it from left to right. No. It depends again. Everybody's devices are different, you know.
Can everybody see my presentation? Can you see the actual presentation?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jane can see that, can't you, Jane?
Anita, I didn't get my link in the email, so I had to look it up on the MS Society email there to get in today. You know, the one you sent last week. So I sent you a wee message, you know, on my own email.
I sent you one this morning there, but maybe
No, I just followed the same page.
And it's the same link for the next 4 weeks. It should work for the next 4 weeks, same password, all of that as well. So it's all set up. So we'll make a wee start. Hopefully we're all able to see whatever we need to see as well. So we are going to unmute at the end for some question time, but could I ask you if possible to just mute yourselves at the moment? It just means because anybody who makes any noise, if you're having a wee cup of tea or you're writing on paper, then it cuts out of what I'm saying and it cuts to your screen, and we hear that rather than you know, the presentation. So if you could just put it on mute, and then at the end we'll give everybody the opportunity to ask some questions as well, okay? Too. So Anita, is there people here today who weren't at the presentation last week? I'm going to assume so. Yes, good, okay. Good, so everybody's very welcome. Thank you all for coming on this lovely monsoon weather that we're having. I don't know what it's like with you, but it's absolutely bucketing down with us here, and it has been for a couple of days now. So for taking your time out of your Wednesday and spending it then to learn all about how to love the body you're in after lockdown. And this is week 1. Last week we had an introduction, so don't worry if you didn't make it to that. I am going to cover some of the things that I talked about there, and we're going to go into a lot more in depth and in detail then about how to love the body and after lockdown and reset your healthy habits as well, okay? So for those who don't know me, I'm Shauna Gibson. You'll find me on shaunagibson.co.uk. I specialise in eating psychology and transforming your relationship with food, eating, body and weight. So everything in that arena is my area of expertise, and you can find more about me over there. I did talk a wee bit about last week what got me all here, so I'll not bore the rest of you again with that one. Okay, so thank you for all coming and showing up. It is really important, you know, that you do even thank yourself and acknowledge that you're taking time out for yourself, and this is something that you're giving yourself. You know, this 1 hour of really self-care and self-development and learning, and you know, it is important that you recognize that it's a gift to yourself, that you're saying, you know, I'm enough and I'm worthy enough to take this time to look after me, because there's a lot of people who sometimes have difficulty doing that and maybe don't. So it is giving yourself a pat on the back whenever you do things like this. So today then we're going to dive deeper into the Love the Body You're In model, and we have it as well. I'll be talking about it shortly. We introduced it last week, which is the 6 pillar models. So today we'll be talking a lot more about understanding your eating and becoming aware of, you know, what's got you here, and we're really going to take a deeper dive into how dieting may have affected your eating and how we're going to really start to leave that behind and start to move forward in so much more positive way. Sorry, Anita.
So I was just going to say there, just to ask for permission, is it okay to record this so that we can actually, you know, people want to refer back to it again, or some people that weren't able to attend today's session?
Yes,
if that's okay.
That's a good point, Anita. So we are going to record it. So is that all okay? If it's not, then maybe do you want them to? What do you want them to do, Anita? Just not ask questions or blank the screen out or something?
If they want to blank the screen out and then it could be then, you know, at the end for the questions, we could maybe stop recording if people feel more comfortable, if not to be recorded, if they prefer to ask questions after the
Good,
recording
and remind me
stops.
then before we ask questions, remind me to do that. That's a good point.
Well, anybody can ask questions if they're happy enough to ask the question with the recording on, so that they can hear your answer. But then after that, then we'll stop the recording, and if anybody else wants to ask anything else afterwards.
Perfect, perfect. Good, thanks for reminding me of that. And we're going to look then at one of the pillars of the components of the model today, which is the physical side as well. And always I put up a wee disclaimer just to say that this is generic information. You know, if you're having any deeper issues with eating that might need sorted out one-to-one, and also some medical issues as well that need addressed by a GP. So everything, any changes that you're making, this is general, and you always have to consult the practitioner. Okay, so how do we change our relationship with food, eating, body and weight? How do we transform it? So this is the Love the Body You're In model, and what you'll notice is there is 6 sections, 6 components to it as well. Okay, so in the middle is understanding and awareness, and that's where we're going to look at today, especially in relation to dieting and how dieting, the diet industry and diet culture has really affected our thinking around food, affected us physically in terms if we have been a dieter for a long time, you know, our cravings, our body size, our relationship with food. And I hope to enlighten you to all of this to help you then make more informed choices when it comes to moving forward and making changes. We are going to look a wee bit deeper at some goals today. We touched upon it briefly last week, so we'll incorporate a bit of that, but we'll look a wee bit more then at, you know, goals, motivation, how change happens, things like that. And the 4 different elements are the physical, the mind, emotion and esteem. So we are beings. I was doing some stuff this week around the brain, and we were talking about the different levels of the brain and how we have 3 different levels of the brain. We have the animal part of the brain, the reptilian part, we have the limbic system, which is where all our emotions reside, and then we have a 3rd layer, the neocortex, which is where our thoughts come in. And what I really want you to think of is, you know, we are physical beings, so we have those drives and those instincts to feed and to eat. We then have emotions on top of that, so we have emotions which affect our eating, such as emotional eating, and then we have our mind, which is our thinking. And really your relationship with food is a daily interplay between these 3 components of your brain and then obviously your body. You know, that we're always thinking, feeling and responding even from a basic level as well. So it makes sense then that any change, any way of moving forward, it has to incorporate all of this. And any changes then that you come to make is about, you know, looking at things from a physical point of view, looking at it from emotional, and then using your wise mind or that brain of ours to kind of make overall decisions which are good for our health as well. Okay, so you'll see there, those are all in the Love the Body You're In model, and with Esteem is added in as well, because it's so important that we feel good about ourselves and good about who we are in our body as well. Okay. So last week I asked you to make an honest list of your habits right now. So if you're new this week, I asked everybody to go through these different areas and just really share with themselves, if you've pen and paper, where am I at now sort of thing. Okay, if you did this last week and anything has changed for you, I would invite you to update that. What have you noticed throughout the week? You know, what did you notice based on last week? And what I would like to say is that any small thing that you have changed that's been healthier for the better, give yourself a big pat in the back and really reward yourself. Now, anything that may not have changed or anything that's gotten worse, we do not judge ourselves and we do not go down that negative, critical, beating ourselves up road. So that is a barrier goes up there. We do not go that way. We always look and acknowledge with non-judgment where we're at and acknowledge then in a positive way anything that we've already started to shift and change as well. Okay, so perhaps based on last week, you might have thought a wee bit more about drinking water, thought a wee bit more about listening to the body. And again, I give you 4 big concepts last week that I actually spent a long time working with people on. So, and you know, even if you've started thinking about it and there's been 1 or 2 small changes, that is fantastic as well. Okay, if you weren't at our presentation last week, it's about taking an honest look at where you're at now in terms of, you know, eating, what your eating patterns are like during the week, at the weekend, you're drinking water, caffeine, alcohol, things like that, how much you're moving or not, what you're thinking is like, you know, if you're beating yourself up, if you're judging, if you're negative critical, maybe you've started to let that go, which is a good thing. And also then how you'll be managing your feelings in the last week as well, okay? So for me, eating has changed. I'm getting a bit of work done in the kitchen at the moment. So for me, the last week eating has been a bit hectic because the capability to cook has just not been there. So that's been an interesting one. Okay, so let's have a look then at the center of the model. So the center of the model is understanding and awareness. And we introduced all the different things last week which do impact your eating and your eating behaviors and your relationship with food, body and weight as well, okay? So we know that COVID-19 has absolutely impacted us. I've highlighted the diet industry because today what I invite us to do is have a look more into the research, more into our own history of dieting, our own history with food, and just see how that has impacted us. And we also then have there the food industry, our culture, our family, nutritional deprivation, disconnection from our signals, stress, emotional reasons why we eat, habits that we develop, lifestyle factors that we just happen to be doing, and our thought patterns as well. So quite a number of things all feed into your relationship with food. So if anybody tells you it's just calories in, calories out, you now know better. It's quite a complex interplay. It's like a jigsaw as well, okay? So what I invite you to do then, if you grab a piece of paper and a pen, if you can, or pencil or something. We're going to draw a weight line. So this is something that I do with my clients in depth whenever they first come in, and it's always something really, really enlightening as well, okay? So I would invite you to draw, let me see if I'll start. Just an axis, like a graph axis, something like this. So just literally, basically something like that, okay? This is for your eyes only, and it's about being as honest as you can, okay? So I want you to imagine that this is the point in life here where you're born, and the bottom line is going to be your age. Okay, so this is age, and this line here is going to be size or weight. So if you haven't been somebody who has weighed yourself, that's fine. Perhaps you've known sizes. Even if you get a sense of how you feel in your body, if you don't, that's also fine as well. So that's weight and size. Okay, and the bottom is age. Okay, something like this. Excuse me, I'm sniffling here. So all the dust. Okay, so if we start then with when you're born, okay, obviously you're born at a few pounds. So we're quite a low weight and we're only brand new into the world. So I want you to think in the first 5 years of life, on the age of 0 to 5, you know, what was your weight like? So it was if you're a normal progressing child, then your weight will be something like that. So it'll be gradually going up. You'll be putting on weight every week, and your mummy will be so happy because you're a good feeding baby who's putting on the ounces and the pounds, isn't that right? And up to school, yeah, and up to school age then. Now, if you've had an illness when you were a baby, or if something happened, then you want to put that in there as well. If there was some, you know, if weight ever dropped, okay. But just in general, if you're a normal progressing baby up to the age of 5, so then we're going to take the next stage of our life, okay? And the next stage of our life is generally our primary school years. So have a reflection and think, you know, did weight normally increase in primary school? Was there any time whenever weight, you know, rapidly increased or rapidly decreased, or any time you had glandular fever or something that made, you know, you lost weight, everybody said it, things like that, okay? Okay, and I invite you to take note. What was going on in your mind at that stage? So is there anything going on in your mind at that stage? You know, did any grannies or mummies or daddies or aunties or uncles say anything to you about your body or weight? Did any, you know, were you an overweight child, an underweight child, normal child? Were you aware of weight? Were you aware of body? Also be aware of what was going on with food. Was food secure or was food scarce? Was it a free-for-all at the dinner table? If you didn't get fed or eat quick enough, then, you know, you didn't get. Were you told the story of the starving children in Africa as well, that if you didn't eat all your food and eat it quickly and finish your plate, that, you know, that was an awful thing to leave food as well? What about waste? Were you allowed to waste food? What about sweets and treats? How were they? So were they readily available? Were they not? Was it a Friday night thing, a weekend thing? So it's just to start get your mind thinking about your early memories around this and how this has started to perhaps shape then your relationship with food as life has went on as well, okay? Now we're into your teenage years. So imagine if you were at school, you know, for 5 or 7 years and, you know, what happened after that. So think of your teenage years and take it right up to your 20. And again, you know, just notice how did your weight progress over this time. So just might want to, you know, draw your line. How did weight progress over this time? Was there any time then whenever, you know, maybe you went to your first slimming club, did weight go down? Anytime weight went up? Things like that as well, okay? And just again, notice, you know, what went on in your mind around your teenage years as well in regards to food, eating and weight. Did you start to earn money and all of a sudden you could buy your own sweeties, so food was readily available? Did boys or partners come on the scene and or girls come on the scene and, you know, all of a sudden you're more body conscious? Just generally your mind, your unconscious mind will start to give you some things that'll flash up here for you as well, okay? And then move into your 20s, okay? And just think, you know, I know for a lot of people by then perhaps, you know, maybe they had children. So if you've had any children, then it has to be a bump in the line for that as well. So, you know, just notice, put those in, what happened after you had children as well. And notice any slimming clubs. So what have you tried in the past? What have you tried in the past when it comes to, you know, dieting? So we have Jane Fonda, we have our Slim Fast, we have our Unislim, or Weight Watchers, or Slimming World, Herbalife, Cambridge, Cabbage Soup. You know, there's a lot there. So if these are coming to mind for you and you're like, yep, that was me, and just notice anytime, you know, was there any weight lost around that? What happened after that? What happened after within a year? You know, things like that as well, okay? And just continue drawing that line through your 30s and 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right up to whatever age you are. Just think about all those different times then that you've went into the door of somewhere, and you know what has happened, what happened each time. And perhaps maybe you haven't been a dieter, maybe you're here to hear more about, you know, being healthier and haven't dieted, and that's fine too. Just take note then of, you know, maybe the positive messages that you have received around food as well, okay? So just reset this. Okay. And just think, you know, just think about all the messages, all the different, how much time and attention that perhaps your weight and your food and eating has been taken up in your life up to this point as well, okay? Okay, yeah, so hopefully we've got that. So what does your line look like? You don't need to show it on the screen, but just take a wee step back and have a look at how many attempts is there maybe at dieting? How many attempts is there at, you know, weight control? How much of your life has this been taken up? What was the messages that you've received around food? Was perhaps mum a dieter, sisters dieting, aunties dieting? You know, what about the availability of food? Things like this, because this is all about your weight, food, body story, and everything on this line will have impacted your story. And very often, whenever it comes to looking at it, I want you to have a look and see how much of what you have been doing has involved dieting and using dieting as a strategy to control your weight, and to ask yourself how successful that has been. So I'm going to show you roughly this one here. So this is what I see quite often. Okay, so if you can all, hopefully you can all see that. Can you all see that? Yeah. So weight goes up and maybe down a wee bit first diet. You know, maybe in the teenage years weight goes up, maybe that's a pregnancy, lose the weight after that, then weight goes up again, and you know, first club, lose the weight gradually creeps up more to what it was the first time, at a second club or second time, lose the weight, and eventually it's kind of like a spiral like this. Now yours is individual to you, that's just a generic one, okay? And the reason why I get you to do this is because it's to highlight perhaps A, how much of your life has been taken up by thinking about food, body, eating and weight, and B, the effects of dieting. Because what people very often say, but dieting works, okay? But the research shows that dieting doesn't work. But the diet industry does not want you to know that. They will literally spend millions of pounds telling you that here's a product and you feel the product doesn't feel you, but in actual fact, it is an issue with the product. And I really want you to be aware of that. And I hope by looking at your lifeline that perhaps that started to highlight to you, actually look at how many attempts I've had at this. And you are not at fault here. And now I'm going to show you a wee bit why. And if you have any questions about that so far, then please do jot them down as well, okay? Okay, so what does dieting actually do? Okay, so dieting, let's look at the cycle. So I want you to think of all these times that you've decided to go on a diet. So, you know, look at all the different things. I mean, I know it personally at 19, I went to Weight Watchers, not with a large amount of weight to lose. In fact, I posted it on Facebook last week. My sister found her card and sent it, and she said something like 9 stone 10. I was 9 stone 10 and I went to Weight Watchers at 9 stone 10. She's, what was that about? You know what I mean? You know, so it's like, what is the drive that takes you to a slimming club at that weight, and at that weight saying, you know, this is not good enough, I need to lose weight as well. Okay, so let's have a look at this cycle. I'm going to talk you through it because I know it's a lot of words on the screen. So I want you to think of that time just before you've maybe entered into your first diet or the diet club. And what happens in your mind is you think, I need to lose weight. And very often self-worth is based on eating habits, shape, weight, and ability to control them. So you decide to go on a diet, and you decide then to make changes. So that is whenever you join the likes of any of the clubs, any of the plans, you know, and I'm talking about even all the more recent ones, the Whole30, the 5-2, the keto, you know, the Noom, all of that. You decide that I'm going to embark on all of these things. What's the first thing that happens to you whenever you go on a diet? What happens to your mind? All of a sudden you start to think, I can't stop thinking about food. What am I going to eat? When am I going to eat? How much am I going to eat? When can I eat again? So your mind starts to become really preoccupied with all of these thoughts of food. Now, depending on which diet you're doing, you can find that you are nutritionally deprived, because let's face it, if you're cutting fat, then you're not getting the healthy fats that you need. If you're cutting carbohydrates, you're not getting the carbohydrates that you need. If you're cutting the calories, then you're not actually getting the energy that your body needs as well. And you can be physically hungry, and that depends on what you're doing. So if it's low calorie, you're physically hungry. Now, I know not all diets say, you know, oh, you know, eat all you can eat because you're not going to be hungry, but that also is problematic in itself as well, okay? So then what happens, you break your dietary rule. You have a biscuit, a crisp, a sausage roll, more than you were allowed on your points or on your sins or on your calories. You have these rules, and all of a sudden the rules are broken. And what do you do then? You go into all or nothing thinking. So you start to criticize yourself. So you start to say things like, you know, oh, look at you, you've no willpower, sure, you're so greedy anyway and you can't control it. And the things that we say to ourselves are awful and horrendous, and we would never repeat them to anybody else. We then go into all or nothing thinking, such as, well, I've blown it now, and because I've blown it now, I'm just going to eat all of this. I'm going to start again on Monday. I'm going to start again next week. I'm going to start again tomorrow. So before I start again, I'll just have all of this food now in preparation for dieting again. And before you know it, you're into a binge. And the binge is when you're having, you know, an uncontrollable amount of food, and more food than you would ever have possibly had you not been dieting in the first place. You might feel uncomfortably stuffed. You might be in a trance-like state as well. And for actual binge eating disorder, there's a certain criteria, but we're just talking about even general binge eating here as well. Then what happens is sometimes we can have compensatory strategies, okay? So this is when we do get into more eating disorder side of things. And, you know, you may have done this at some point in your life as well. We look at maybe at purging or vomiting, laxative misuse, and excessive exercise. And that's whenever we have to burn off the calories, we have to, you know, keep going with that, that walking or that running or that cycling or those classes, all to burn calories, okay? And then what happens is we think, right, we gather ourselves together again and we say, let's start a new diet. Let's try to lose weight again. Let's try a new diet, the same diet. You know, such Sheila down the road there has done whatever, Weight Watchers, Slimming World, look at her, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do that. And we pick ourselves up and we put ourselves back into the same cycle, okay? You will notice on the screen, there's a little bit saying mood intolerance. So if you're not a dieter or you haven't been dieting, and as you start to let go of dieting, binge eating and overeating can still happen, partly because of our inability to regulate our emotions. So it's to do with emotional eating. So the two main factors that we need to help us sort our eating out is, one is to let go of dieting and find a new path, which I'm going to teach you. And the other one then is to manage our emotions, that we're not turning to food and using food then whenever we're feeling or not wanting to feel our feelings as well, okay? So that cycle, I know when I show clients that cycle, they actually say things to me like, oh my goodness, I can't believe people have actually written this in a book or written this up or found this all out, and you know, it's not just me. And the one thing I would invite you to do is start to let go of any judgment you may have around any behaviors that you're doing. If you have been binging or you have been emotionally eating, just don't be judging it, okay? And let it go. Okay, so what happens then, let me just move my screen a wee bit. What happens then, whenever we are dieting, this is actually proven by research. Everything I give you today is all proven by research. We are more obsessed with food and body than ever. So the actual act of dieting keeps you more obsessed with thinking about your body and thinking about food. You become more preoccupied with food in terms of, you know, how often when you're on a diet are you thinking about it? How often do you notice that the thoughts in your brain are taken up by food, okay? It makes food the enemy. All of a sudden, you know, food is not your friend. You know, you hate food, you don't like it, but you love it in one point of view as well. But the other hand, you're saying, you know, I wouldn't be like this or feel like this if it wasn't for food. You might feel guilty when not eating the diet types of food, even when you're not officially dieting. And that's a big thing. The guilt around food is so real that, you know, oh, diet says I'm only allowed so much ice cream, and then you're not doing the diet, and then you're eating ice cream anyway, and you start feeling so bad for having the ice cream as well. It turns on the body's defense mechanism to slow the metabolism, as the body perceives dieting as self-induced famine. So our bodies are really wise and really smart. They've really good signals, and dieting teaches us to disconnect from them. Whenever we've dieted, the body actually thinks it's biological trauma to the body. It thinks it's starving, okay? So the body will slow the metabolism down to conserve all of the energy. And the more you try to diet, the more you binge, okay? So let's have a wee look at that. Here is the diet binge pendulum, okay? So in the diet binge pendulum then, I want you to think of it like this. If you can imagine, there is a pendulum, and at the bottom is a little ball, and I pull it to the one side, and that one side is extreme dieting. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So when I let that go, it goes straight over to the equal opposite side, and the opposite side of dieting is binging. If you are extreme dieting is binging. If you're dieting, the opposite to that is overeating. So the more you pull to one side, the more you will swing to the other side, okay? So what then is part of the answer here? What we're looking for? We're looking for balance. We're looking to be normal eaters. We're looking to be connected to our body and listening to our body, okay? And to let go of dieting and to find a path, you know, that's balanced in the middle. Easier said than done, but with all the right tools, you know, it is something, and the right practicing and developing these practices, being patient with yourself, it can be done, okay? So let's have a look then at the side effects of dieting, okay? So thinking about going on a diet brings on urges and cravings for forbidden foods. So if I was to tell you, do you know what, tomorrow we're going to start our new diet, we're going to have these set of rules, and we're going to eat these foods, chances are tonight you would have all the cravings for the foods which are forbidden on that list, and you would be eating them all and bringing them all in, and you know, so even the thought about going on the diet actually increases the urges to eat the food as well, okay? When the diet ends, you go on a food binge and you feel guilty, and that is true for at least 50% of people that's researched will have binges at the end of their diet, okay? Low levels of trust in self with regards to food. So we start to really distrust ourselves. We start not to listen to our body, and we start to give all our amazing power away to these external plans because we're just brainwashed by them, and they're just everywhere, okay? You may feel that you don't deserve to eat, so that you know, when your body's telling you that it's hungry, and because of the external plan is saying, no, that's too much, no, that's not the right food, then you have this, you know, I don't deserve to eat that, or I shouldn't be eating that, or that's bad food. And, you know, you have this whole perception food is good or bad. Shortened dieting duration. So maybe in your timeline, you may have noticed that if we had went into each time of the diets, how long you spent at each time dieting, what you may have noticed is that each time got less and less. And that is because the body gets smarter and smarter and realizes, oh, here she goes again. She's doing one of these things. We're not going to let it last as long as the first time. And very often people may have significant weight loss the first or the second time they've tried some of these plans. And then they spend years after that, after their weight has been regained, chasing that time when actually the body has rewired itself, has remembered that, and it fights you back because of survival reasons. The Last Supper effect, which is similar to what I just talked about, whereas, you know, I'm starting tomorrow, so let's clear the cupboards tonight. Social withdrawal as well is also a side effect, so that you feel conscious about eating, you feel conscious about your body. You know, you kind of go out and you're not sure then if the social occasion will help, you know, will fit your diet, so you might not go, or equally you might go and you know, do the what the hell effect, as it's called. But very often then, because it may be feeling bad about yourself, bad about your body, bad about eating, then there can be withdrawal there as well. A sluggish metabolism, so I'm going to show you more about that in the next slide, where it actually slows your metabolism down because your body hasn't got enough. You know, it's learned that it hasn't been getting enough through diets, and it needs to conserve energy, so it's going to slow metabolism down. And there's actual research on The Biggest Loser, on the show on the TV, what happened their metabolism 5 and 6 years later, and it's absolutely shocking. The use of caffeine, sometimes people develop a dependency on caffeine, that rather than, you know, eat, they go hungry, and you know, so let's drink more caffeine, and then eating disorders can develop. So the one thing I would say about eating disorders is that we've no known cause. There's a number of different eating disorders. We've no known cause for what actually causes an eating disorder. There's a number of different factors. The one thing they all have in common across the board is anybody who goes on to develop an eating disorder, it all started with a diet. So at the extreme level, that's where it goes as well. Now, you might be wondering why I'm taking so much time telling you about this today. It's because I really want to embed in your mind the harmful effects, the research and the psychology behind this. Because when you go out from this training, and when you know, start to speak to Lucy down the street, and you go into work and Sally's talking about her latest diet, we get caught again in this dieting culture. But I really want you to remember everything so far that you've heard today, that you now know better. It's kind of like learning to drive. If I asked you to forget how to drive your car, you can't, because the unconscious mind now knows it. I hope by putting this information in it, you can't forget that dieting doesn't work, okay, and all this as well. So here's 2 examples of some of the research, and this is only a tip of the iceberg. The Biggest Loser study in 2016 looked 6 years later at the metabolism of the people who on that TV show, who were all glued to going, oh my goodness me, look at what's happening here. 6 years later, their metabolism was blunted by an average of 700 calories per day, as dieting slowed down their metabolism. So what that meant is that they needed 700 calories. Anything over that 700 calories was being stored as fat. Their basal metabolic rate had dropped so much, so low, that their calorie intake needed to be so low, and anything over that then was automatically going to storage, which really what we want is we want a good high flame, a good metabolic rate, you know, as well, okay? So it actually dropped theirs. Muscle mass, which is so important for our metabolism and for using our food and expending our energy, theirs was much lower. So they lost 10 pounds of muscle mass. So literally, if you can imagine, you have your house. Whenever you diet, a diet eats into the bricks and mortars of your house, what's holding it up, what's keeping the structure, and it's very hard to rebuild that. So literally, they had 10 pound loss of, you know, of their structure, which they needed to help support them in their bodies. The Minnesota Starvation Experiment by Ansel Keys is another one where they took college men. Now these guys, they were asked to go to the think it was the Korean War or one of the wars at the time, or else do this study, and they opted for this study. It would not be allowed to be done today because it's not ethical. But they were put on a starvation study of around 1,700 calories a day. They had no previous dieting history or body image issues. They were put on the diet and they talked obsessively about food. They became preoccupied with food. They reduced sexual interest. They became socially withdrawn. They had periods of emotional stress and depression, a decline in concentration and judgment capabilities, and a decrease again in their own basic metabolic rate as well. So this is some of the psychology around dieting to help you understand that actually this is the physiological and psychological effects that happens as well. So how then do we get out of this? What do we do? People say, Shauna, what do we do? You know, what is the change? So there you will see the model we've talked about. And I've implanted on that then the 6 different areas that we work in to help you get out of this cycle, okay? So the 6 different areas then are here, which we've already talked about, is first of all, having the understanding that, you know, this doesn't work. Dieting doesn't work, okay? Having awareness to all of then, you know, when you go out, all of the dieting culture and the things that come your way, and then setting goals in a different way, focusing on your health, focusing on reconnecting with your body, and focusing on it in the 4 main components which are there as well, okay? So let's look at goals, motivation and change, and do a little bit of another little bit of work here. So I invite you to write a letter to your future self. So think even in 4 weeks, okay? I want you to think of yourself 4 weeks down the line from now, and write to yourself and say, dear, who have I got, Anita or Eilish or Jane, that's because that's who I see on the screen at the moment. What has changed? What does your relationship with food, eating, or body or weight look like now? What's good about that? What have you started to do differently? How do you think and feel about yourself, your body and food? You know, and what has started to change? What has started to change? Because 4 weeks, let me tell you, is a really short period of time, okay? But, you know, just based on the next or couple of weeks together, what's going to start to change? So even the first thing is I've started to let go of dieting. You know, I now understand that dieting and this pursuit of dieting is something that I'm no longer going to do because I know the research and the evidence behind it. And as a result of that, then I have started to do maybe be more compassionate with my body, to listen to my body. You know, last week we talked about some things like maybe even simply just drinking more water, or starting to relax around food, starting to treat my body better. What would you like to do in the next couple of weeks? A couple of weeks is a really short period of time. So you might also want to think of it then, you know, bring into mind a year down the line. What, you know, what has changes a year down the line? You know, what does that look like? If I could wave that magic wand, and don't think about, I encourage you, don't think about a weight goal or a number, but what would a change mean for you? Again, it can be, you know, having you know, that more energy, feeling better about myself, not judging myself anymore, feeling more in control around food, feeling more connected to my body, things like that as well, okay? So just jot down what comes to mind for you. So think in terms of food, you know, food is no longer good or bad, and I'm able to choose foods that satisfy me. I'm relaxed about my eating. I'm connected to my body. Perhaps you're speaking kindly to yourself, or feeling, you know, more energized, or, you know, you're doing activities that you enjoy, or moving your body in a way that you enjoy. Okay. And anything I ask you to do, I normally would get clients to go away and do this and come back. So what I would encourage you to do is revisit this after even the session as well. Okay, so, you know, just get a couple of ideas in there and then come back to it and rethink it as well. Okay. Okay, and as part of that then is thinking, what is your why? So, you know, what is the negative, painful challenges in your current situation? And what are the positive reasons for change? So we did this last week. So if anybody's new on the session this week, you know, you might want to try this again after the session. But again, part of our wanting to change, wanting to do something different is because there's something painful about where we're at. So maybe you're fed up with dieting or trying to diet or always thinking about food or not loving your body or hating your body. Maybe you're saying, look, I don't want to do that no more. That's not what I want a different way. And then you're like, you know, if I found a different way, then what would be good about that? Actually, what would be good about feeling better about who you are and the body you're in and making positive choices, which are that interplay between your emotions and your thoughts and meeting your physical needs as well. Okay. Okay. So last week we talked about then the, so again, I encourage you to finish that off and add to that. And if anything comes to mind throughout the session or throughout the week, add to it as well. So last week we talked about then the 3 layers of behavior change. You know, so the outcomes are about basically what you've just said. What are the outcomes that you want? You know, what is your reasons for change? You know, such as I want more, better health, I want maybe better fitness, I want my mind to be freed up, I want more energy, I want to be relaxed around food, I want to feel in control, I want to be feeling my hunger and fullness, I want to be, you know, let go of all that judgment as well. So think of all those outcomes that you might want. The process is the Love the Body You're In model, which I'm going to be taking you through in the couple of weeks. So this is already part of the process. And then the identity is, who is the sort of person that I want to identify with as well, okay? And I want you to think of, the reason I called it Love the Body You're In is because for years, chances are you've been hating your body, speaking negatively to it, saying it's not good enough, trying to change it as well, okay? But I appreciate as well that Love the Body is a spectrum. You know, some people say, like Shauna, I just can't get there, I can't do that. So what I would start to say is, how can you respect the body you're in? Okay, how can you start to respect it? And maybe by respecting it, then you can get to liking it a wee bit, and hopefully by getting to liking it a bit more, then we get to loving it a wee bit more as well. So if your identity, at the core of your identity, is about the sort of person you're becoming, and all change happens because you start to identify with that person. So start to think, what is the identity that I want to develop? You know, is it I am becoming a healthier person? I am becoming someone who does love their body. I am learning to, you know, identify with even smaller things like, you know, to move my body more, maybe to drink water, to do different things like that. Your identity can have loads of things in there, and you make your choices from that as well. So again, embedding here that, you know, we're looking to change from the inside out as well as the outside in. We've tried outside in for a long time. We're looking really the inside out approach as well. Okay. Okay. So who you want to become. So it's kind of like, you know, last week we loved this little picture of, you know, we're all tangled up, we have all these messages, we've all this history, and really we're looking to tease it all out and create our own picture of sunshine when it comes to change as well. Okay. So let's then dive into the first section of the first outer section of the Love the Body You're In model, which is the physical side of things. Okay. So the physical side of things cover everything from nutrition, planning your food, hydrating your body, sleeping more, moving in a way that feels good, not punishing, managing stress, connecting with body signals of hunger and fullness, and relaxing around food as well, okay? So last week we talked about 4 key ones within that, and those were hydration, planning, sleep, connection with body signals of hunger and fullness, okay? So when it comes to hydration, how are we all with hydration? So just check in with yourself then and ask yourself, how much water do you drink? How much do you get that body hydrated? Okay, what is your caffeine intake like? just grab something here. What is your caffeine intake like as well? Okay. And what is your alcohol intake like too? And again, this is not to be judgmental or anything like that. It's just to notice where am I at now in terms of hydration, and how can I start to change that? Okay. So why would we want to get more water into our body? Because it's so good for us. It's like liquid energy. Okay. So it's asking yourself, how can I get more in? And I would encourage you to get up to 2 litres if you can a day. Now it does depend on how active you are and different things like that. You may need more, but 2 litres of good liquid in a day, and that includes 1 or 2 cups of black tea or coffee. It includes as many herbal drinks as you want, but really try and get the water in. If you're not a water drinker, you may want to start by having some dilute or cordial or whatever in there as well. Okay, so that's okay. Anything that gets the hydration in. It decreases headaches. It increases your energy. It detoxifies the body. It boosts your metabolism. It allows minerals and nutrients to be accessible to the body. It reduces sugar cravings. It helps with better bowel movements, and it improves your cognitive functioning. All the benefits there of getting it in, okay? So it's going back to that identity and saying, am I a water drinker? How can I be a water drinker, okay? So it's having a look then at some things that you can do to help you with that as well. Sorry, can I just ask everybody's on mute? I just hear something coming in there as well, okay? So some tips then for getting it into you is to take 2 glasses in the morning when you wake up, 1 or 2 glasses straight away. Choose a refillable, maybe attractive water bottle and carry it with you throughout the day. So you might want to get a really nice water bottle, one that maybe, you know, that you like the mouthpiece of as well, that finds it really easy to drink. You might want to sip or gulp some water every few hours. So if you're not big into, you know, taking down the bottles, you might want to be sipping it or gulping it or just always having it there. You can get water tracking apps such as Water Balance, where you put the app in your phone and you set your target, and every time you drink, you tap into your phone, and then that teaches you, shows you, kind of gives you an outline of a person, and it kind of fills that person up with water then as you drink throughout the day. So that can help you form a good habit as well. You might want to drink a glass, you know, half an hour before your dinner or with your dinner as well. And you might want to find someone else, a water buddy I call them, who you can just check in with each other saying, you know, how's your water drinking? How's your water drinking? Me and my friend would do that quite often as well. We're like, oh, how you get on with your water of the day, you know? So just that, it all helps with getting it going too. And the good thing about it is once you do get it going is that your body will look for it. It will become thirsty. You will also start to notice the difference between when you're thirsty and when you're hungry, okay? So that's just taking a deeper dive into your hydration today, okay? So really this week, that might be something that you're looking to say, look, I'm started last week, I really want to get more into this week. So the other thing then is your sleep. Please do not underestimate the importance of getting a good, restful, reparative night's sleep. And if you have young children who aren't sleeping, you have my sympathy. But it's doing your best. It's doing your best. I know I mentioned it last week, but if you notice that you are choking at night or gagging at night, or perhaps your partner has said you're gasping for breath and you're waking up, please go to the doctor. You need to visit the doctor and get checked for sleep apnea. For anybody who might be in a larger body or carrying a lot of weight, the connection between weight and sleep apnea is unbelievable, and you will need that treated in order for your body to be able to release weight as well, okay? If it's not treated, it's very, very difficult to release weight if you do have sleep apnea. So just look it up, ask your partner if you've any of the symptoms, check it out. So how can we improve our sleep? So here's some tips then to improve our sleep. So we want to limit our caffeine, especially in the evening, okay? Avoid technology before bed. How hard is that if we all have the phone sitting beside the bed? But if it's keeping you awake, then, you know, maybe keeping a distance from it at a certain time. Give yourself a bedtime alarm. So rather than a wake up alarm, it's saying, look, I'm aiming to go to bed for 10, 10:30, 11, whatever it happens to be. Set that alarm and be in bed by that time and try to be sleeping, you know, just after it. Black out your windows. So that's a really good thing as well. If you're finding the light outside is affecting it, then you want to black out those windows. Perhaps remove TV screens from your bedroom. Consider the temperature. Again, keep it around 17 degrees is ideal, but you know what's right for you. Personally, I find that a wee bit cold for me, but some people don't. Eat earlier if you can, before 8. But again, don't be making that a rule. Just try and eat, you know, that wee bit earlier. Try, if possible, not to be having big, heavy meals just before you go to bed. Don't use your phone as an alarm clock. Keep the phone outside of their room. Create a wind down routine. So you want to look at you know, doing things which relax the body, you know, maybe, you know, bit of hand cream, doing your face, spraying your lavender, reading, you know, getting wound down from the day as you get into bed. And again, you know, just get checked with sleep apnea there as well. Okay, so that's a deeper look into 2 of those. We will be looking at more of those, you know, within the coming weeks as well. So what I want to do now is I'm going to invite you to see if you have any questions. Has anybody got any questions? If anybody wants to unmute, ask away. Wonder, will I hit the unrecord button, Anita? Maybe that might be best. Wait, do we see? Yeah. Let me see. So let me see if I can work out how to do this then. How to stop recording. Let me see. Nita, do you know how to? So there's that. Stop recording. There we go.